It goes by many names, but the message is still the same.
This was a park to celebrate their freedom.
This year marks the first. It is now an official state holiday in Colorado.
With Black history, it can be very ugly with how America has decided to interface with Black people. Because of that, it's even more important to tell the truth about it.
I had no idea that 5 points would be as valuable as it is today.
Because we're more than just an athlete. We can do more than just run fast and jump high and catch footballs. We can do way more than that.
CBS 4 elevates Black voices on Juneteenth. For the first time in state history, Juneteenth will be celebrated as a state holiday. Governor Jared Polis signed it into law last month. Now, while it hasn't been an official state holiday, the city of Denver has been celebrating for decades.
Authorized his tap and oven. His small business on 29th and Washington.
Small with a big impact. Nestled in the 5 Points community, the earliest Juneteenth celebrations in Denver trace back to here.
And it was kind of a bar, eating place.
Terry Nelson with the Denver Public Library tells us this man, Otha P. Rice, a Texan who moved to Colorado, introduced Denver to Juneteenth.
He felt the importance of the holiday in educating this part of the country because people in this part of the country were not aware of it unless they came from the South.
The early years were small and intimate. That's until the 5 Points Business Association got involved. From there, it grew to become one of the largest in the nation.
The family came, they brought the food, they brought the stories, they brought the history.
You go your own way.
And then they came to hear the special music and dance and celebrate.
Denver's 5 Points neighborhood was once known as the Harlem of the West. Now this area is fighting to maintain that history and that legacy. And as our Justin Adams shows us, it's been an uphill battle.
It's celebrating the beauty of us.
Denver's 5 Points is more than just another historical landmark.
We have so many amazing people that are part of the story here.
For Terry Gentry, it's about highlighting her personal connection to the community.
It's about my family history. It's about my neighbors and the community and all of the richness of the diversity and brilliance.
Terry serves as a volunteer at the Black West American Museum and Heritage Center.
You could come down here on a Sunday afternoon after church and everybody's dressed up for church and then comes down here between 1 and 2 o'clock and hit all of the clubs and restaurants and just fill up the space.
That space was filled with everything from shops to restaurants, hotels, and the sounds from the best jazz musicians.
They would perform for our community. They could stay at the Rossonian or they might stay with Mr. Morrison in his home. But they contributed so much that we were called Harlem of the West.
Spot right here, how has this just developed throughout the years?
Well, there's been a lot of changes, like this building.
Today, new construction surrounds the historic cultural district. Terry took me on a walk down memory lane. From the Rossonian Hotel, which has stood strong since 1912, to the Deep Rock Water Building founded in 1896. She also pointed out historic markers like the Atlas Drugstore, which was the only white-owned drugstore in Denver which African Americans could sit at the soda fountain. Our final stop was at a barbershop.
Good morning.
All right, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Franklin Steiger has been giving haircuts and shape-ups for the last 50 years, working with a beautician to make sure everyone left his shop looking their best.
And they taking care of that part, and I taking care of the barbering. Worked out nice. Everybody seemed to be happy, you know. And that's the main thing. I had no idea that 5 points would be as valuable as it is today.
That value has seen a decline over the years as people move from 5 Points to the suburbs.
70s and 80s and early 90s, there's a lot of people moving out, so the businesses weren't necessarily supported like they had been in the past. So that's kind of heartbreaking.
Even with the challenges and changes in the community, Terry is confident the 5 Points Business District will thrive.
I continue to hope that we have young folks that learn this history and learn their own capacity and capability so that they can aspire to do the same things and be the same people that their ancestors were.
If you would like to support Black-owned businesses in Denver, we have information on how to do that on cbsdenver.com. Many Americans are learning about Juneteenth for the first time. We talked with a man who's been teaching students about Black history for years. We spoke with him about why these lessons are so essential.
If my Black and brown students can go through it, if they can experience it, you can sit and learn about it.
The topic of race in schools has become controversial. Rico Went says if you don't teach history, you're doomed to repeat it.
I've had teachers ask me maybe best practices on how to kind of broach the subject or how to initiate the topic. It can be challenging because sometimes it's, particularly with Black history, it can be very ugly.
Went found a way to empower students with that history and their culture through Young Men of Purpose.
It's a little bit of big brother, uncle, coach.
Since 2009, he's been providing a relationship many teens have never had.
We might talk about everything from dating etiquette to the Civil War and the ramifications on us now.
It started as a mission to mentor and guide students at his old high school in Aurora.
Everybody could hang around and talk about their personal things.
Young Men of Purpose now serves 5,000 teens around the Denver metro area.
Oftentimes, young men come into the room, they start with me, and they're just kind of like, what is this? Like, they don't understand what it is.
Went says the greatest feeling is watching them transform into young men who are confident in who they are.
I'm getting a call from mom saying, I'm not sure what you're doing, but would you please keep doing it? He's more self-aware. He feels better about his community, his culture.
Having teachers that look like you is proven to increase success among students of color. The impact Went has left on thousands of young men will stay with them forever, even if it takes them a few years to see it.
When I'm up late at night on Facebook and I get a message this long of a student who I haven't seen in a couple years, and it's, Mr. Rico, I didn't get it then, but I get it now. Thank you for all you told us. Thank you for what you taught us. I didn't understand then, but I understand now. That's so fulfilling for sure.
Honoring those we've lost this year. Jazz musician Ron Miles was a Colorado legend. The Grammy-nominated artist died in March at 58 years old. The Denver-based musician studied music at the University of Denver and recorded and played with many of the world's top jazz performers. In May, Norm Early, the first Black prosecutor in Colorado, passed away. Early served as a chief deputy DA for the Denver District Attorney's Office before being appointed DA himself in 1983. He held that position for 10 years. He was 76. Celebrating Juneteenth, we visit one Colorado company who's doing it the right way. Denver's housing market is competitive, and Black Coloradans have a harder time breaking in. Next, how Black Coloradans can get help buying homes. As Juneteenth becomes more popular, there are growing concerns about who is celebrating the holiday genuinely. Spangalang is celebrating it right. Denver's long been a leader in Juneteenth celebrations, and now it's a city, state, and federal holiday.
There are a bunch of folks trying to figure out how to properly celebrate.
Norman Harris runs Juneteenth Music Festival. He spent years highlighting the day's significance, so it's frustrating to see products like this.
I would ask, brands like Walmart, are they really interested in connecting with communities, connecting with organizations so they can properly curate things of this nature?
A brewery in 5 Points made sure they branded better.
This year we did a light American lager.
The owners of Spangalang did more than slap Juneteenth on a can.
We really wouldn't have attempted to do it if we didn't think we couldn't do it right. And the way we did it right was by working directly with the community here in 5 Points.
Harris helped guide the brewers with concept and flavor. Local artist Jermaine Jude designed the label. You're not taking advantage of the holiday, you're honoring the holiday.
Exactly.
Juneteenth involves educating a nation. There's no shame in asking how to celebrate it right.
This might serve as an example, motivate some other folks to maybe knock on our door so we can help curate this the proper way.
Here's how you can celebrate Juneteenth in Denver. Colorado's Juneteenth Festival in Denver's 5 Points neighborhood begins June 17th through June 19th. There will be live music and art. And you can bring the whole family. We have more details on cbsdenver.com.
As a black man in this country, it's hard to find the resources or even find someone who could help me through my issues.
Black Americans repeatedly endure acts of violence and hate, but the stigma of mental health can get in the way of getting help. Michaelia White sat down with two professionals about what we can do to change that. 5 weeks ago, an alleged gunman walked into a grocery store and shot 10 people. The Department of Justice says this shooting was a hate crime motivated by violent extremism. In short, they say he targeted black people. These are their names: Aaron Salter, Andre McNeil, Ruth Whitfield, Pearl Young, Roberta Drury, Catherine Massey, Hayward Patterson, Margus D. Morrison, Celestine Cheney, and Geraldine Talley. Repeated images of violence on Black Americans can be traumatic. There's often a stigma between mental health and the Black community. Our Michaelia White wanted to find out why and how to break it.
It's a tremendous problem.
Dr. Reggie Washington sees the problem of not addressing mental health daily.
For a black person, it's even more prominent because there are other pressures that increase.
So he works to bring black medical professionals together with similar passions through the Health One Black Colleague Network. And he's taken Terrence Walker under his wing.
As a black man in this country, it's hard to find the resources or even find someone who can, if I wanted to reach out to somebody who could help me through my issues.
Those issues, like mental health, manifest in different ways in the Black community, especially with painful, triggering events like the Buffalo shooting, a gunman targeting 10 people in a supermarket just because of their skin color.
How do you drive out hate? How do you stop someone from going into a store and shooting up targeted black people? And I honestly don't have a good answer for that. I don't know. I've been at a loss for years now.
Walker knows what does work: candid conversations, instilling worth in young black children.
Because we're more than just an athlete. We can do more than just run fast and jump high and catch footballs. We can do way more. We can do way more than that.
We need more healthcare providers. We need more mental health providers. We need more voices in the community, voices of reason, voices that can suggest things that might be helpful. I'm a big believer in education. If you educate the population, they make better decisions.
Now, in either of your journeys, have you encountered people who maybe said that you thought you were better than them, or, I know I faced that myself, and it's tough just because you're working hard and you're seeing success and you're applying yourself and you are getting good grades.
Happens more than you might imagine. I'm not better than anybody else, but I worked damn hard to be where I am.
And that work was encouraged by mentorship.
You need a mentor to really keep you on the straight and narrow, keep you going towards your North Star, telling you when you're not doing well. And you need to get a mentor who has failed. You don't want a mentor who's been successful all their life.
Work with that young man or woman and say, hey, this is what I did. This is how I got here. This is what you need to do. And if I can do it, I know you can do it too. I think it starts with understanding it's okay to ask for help. That doesn't make you less of a person or weak. We all need help in some capacity throughout life.
Women of color only account for 5% of healthcare leadership positions in the U.S. That's according to recent analysis. Kelly Worthman learned one of them is at Colorado's own Craig Hospital.
I feel like it's another example of wasted potential and opportunity.
Dr. Jandel Allen Davis is among the few.
I've been called a unicorn. And, that rare thing that maybe you see every now and again.
She's a black woman running a hospital, one of very few women of color in a healthcare leadership role. But she's paving the way to change that.
So what I say is, if I'm a unicorn, they're not as rare as you think. We're just not looking.
Dr. Allen Davis is looking. She became president and CEO of Craig Hospital in the fall of 2018. Among her many missions is creating a more inclusive and diverse environment.
It's work, frankly, we're starting at Craig in a more intentional way.
That's especially evident in the hospital's apprenticeship program, where 4 local high schoolers are learning about careers in healthcare.
They're all kids of color. For them to see, oh my gosh, there's a CEO and president, who spends time and wants to talk to us, but more importantly, she looks like us.
Dr. Allen Davis says part of the lack of persons of color in healthcare is a pipeline problem. She's working to change that too.
To let folks know that these are careers that are super possible.
Yet it can't be done alone.
But the way that it actually happens, sadly, is that we need more white males, frankly, to open these doors.
But Dr. Allen Davis will open those doors as well, working to change that 5% of women of color in healthcare leadership to 10% and beyond.
It is possible. It is absolutely possible.
A history of discrimination has prevented Black people from buying homes. Now there's a new program to help hardworking Black families create their own generational wealth.
Your hopes are instantly high and then you're like shot back down.
It's a feeling Amy and many others searching for a Denver home know too well. It's a tough market. One real estate pro, April Denman, says was once impossible if you're Black.
There was one time when Black families could not cross over Colorado Boulevard.
Denman closed over 100 homes in the metro area last year. 75% were Black buyers.
In the last 2 months, I have lost 9 buyers. Out of those 9 buyers, they were all African Americans.
Ownership is key to building generational wealth, but all buyers don't have family funds to help.
There's just not that much money sitting around. I mean, for goodness sake, we have 3 children as well.
Amy's family lived with relatives to save, but it wasn't enough to compete. She was finally able to close thanks to the Deerfield Fund.
Deerfield provided the opportunity to increase that buying power.
Deerfield helps Black first-time home buyers in Colorado access no-interest down payment assistance.
Deerfield is providing the opportunity for individuals like myself to be able to put down more so that that monthly payment is affordable.
Amy grew up here. With Deerfield's assistance, now she can afford for her kids to build roots too.
We're just excited to finally have a place to call our own.
Next, a Colorado pilot is elevating Black voices and becoming a role model for young women who want to enter the industry she loves. She's the first Black woman airline captain, and she doesn't plan to be the last. Our Dylan Thomas introduces us to a woman who hopes to inspire the next generation of young Black aviators.
Dylan, let's crank number 2.
Inside a simulator at the world-renowned United Airlines Flight Training Center.
There's 80 knots.
Future Black aviators are learning from a trailblazer.
In 1998, I became the first Black woman to become captain at United Airlines.
Captain Melissa Ward was the first Black woman captain not only for United,
You need to pull back a little bit, just a little bit at a time.
but for any major airline in the United States. Yet, even 24 years later,
There's incredible room for growth for African Americans in the aviation industry.
of the 14,000 pilots at United today,
Less than 2,000 of those pilots are either women or racial minorities. For young women and for minorities, that opportunity is not there because there was no one ahead of them. And so what we have to do is we have to create those pathways.
While Captain Ward's ascent to the sky went through the military, now she and United are working to clear the runway for takeoff for future Black pilots.
Captain Ward and United are now running the Aviate Academy, which further opens the skies to marginalized communities.
It really does create a pathway for those that would have never had that opportunity in the first place. We have to give some deference to people that would normally not have that opportunity, whether it's because of exposure or whether it's because of financial ability. We have to get young Black girls interested in flying.
Squeeze them together and move it back to the 1 position. Turn this dial till it says 170.
If Captain Ward could teach me how to land an Airbus safely,
50. Pull back a little bit.
She can teach you too.
And we're back on the ground.
And if the Aviate Academy soars as hoped,
maybe I won't be just a story anymore because Black women pilots will become more common. In the spirit of Black History Month, where we are looking to the past of the Tuskegee Airmen and Bessie Coleman, I would say also look to the future because it's you. The future is any Black child out there that wants to be a pilot. You can do it, and we're here to help you find that path.
A Colorado woman earned her name in the history books by becoming the first Black woman to live and work on the International Space Station. Jessica Watkins went to Fairview High School in Boulder and claims Lafayette as her hometown. Right now, she's 2 months into her mission. We got a chance to hear from her shortly after she arrived.
It's just been a dream come true up here. Just starting with launch. Starting with launch was just absolutely amazing. Just getting to feel and hear and just be present in all of that.
She's 240 miles above Earth, but Watkins hasn't forgotten her Colorado roots. In May, she had a virtual visit with students at her alma mater, Fairview High School. I'm Tori Mason at the 5 Points intersection where this historic neighborhood got its name. Thank you for watching our special report on CBS 4. Happy Juneteenth.